just not on the property tax until it sunsets. So
Okay.
I don't think that there will be zero money. It's just the model for the state of Indiana, and it's proven that it's going to income-based and not property tax-based revenue model, that the income taxes will always be, head count for students will always be the predominant share of the coffers. And so this opportunity definitely fits those growth models for the state as well. Mayor Ron.
Yeah, but I think just, maybe we're on there, Bill Hunt. There are a couple of things that, about the TIF and the redevelopment commissions, that perhaps we should air as well. Each year, the commissions meet and determine whether they will capture the entirety of the value of the TIF, or whether some of that gets released to the underlying units, taxing units. So that's a yearly decision. It's not a 25-year and out kind of thing. Secondly, it's the but for. If nothing happens in any of these allocation areas, if no property is developed, then there's absolutely, no change to the tax base or to what gets contributed to those underlying units, except that over time it's not going to be as much in terms of income tax and other benefits that will accrue. As far as the school is concerned, in a residential TIF, there is the opportunity to bond through the TIF district for projects that may be required as a result of the increase in students. So if an expansion were needed, for example, it's possible to use the residential TIF as a bonding authority, because that project has nexus to the residential TIF area. They're so closely aligned that what happens at the school district obviously benefits the residential TIF and vice versa. Jake already mentioned that we're working with the school corporations to develop memorandums, and it's actually memorandums, I guess, of understanding with the school boards and the schools to kind of spell out what that process will be and how decisions will be made in the future, so that the school is comfortable with that they will have a say in this, and that they will be a player at the table. And that's very, very important. The last point I'm going to make is that there are, I think, a total of 7 allocation units. If one of those allocation units starts with a project, and we do create a bond for that to provide infrastructure, as soon as that bond is retired, or if we find that there are other revenue sources that enable us to pay that bond off more quickly, then again, each year, the redevelopment commission decides, well, we can take some of that allocation, some of that TIF that is being collected, and return X% to the underlying taxing units. That's an annual decision. And finally, so maybe 1 out of 7 begins to develop. So its sunset clause starts at the time that debt is incurred. I believe with the residential TIF, and we can get clarification from Baker Tilly and our financial people, that you can't rebond. So it's a one-time. So we create a bond for example, to create infrastructure for a housing project, and that when that is retired, you do not rebond and extend it. It's a 25-year from the date that first debt is incurred. So that's one difference, I think, between the residential TIF and the former model of the commercial TIFs. So just wanted to add those 2 points. Thank you.
I'm gonna try to move on to the next, here. We got a lot more business to cover. Does the board have anything else? Do we have any motions?
I vote that we table this discussion until the school board discusses their thoughts and concerns, because it seems like they are concerned about some issues that they might have a valid reason to, so I vote that we table
table this until the memorandum, or the MOUs have been signed, potentially signed with both school districts, Delphi and Carroll, and address all their concerns that they have. It's been seconded by Jeff. Any questions regarding the motion? Want to go ahead and do a vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That's three. Let's do a hand vote.
Yeah, let's do it.
All those in favor, raise your hand. For tabling. That's six. All those opposed? That's three. Motion carries 6-3.
Thank you, guys.
Can I have one more question? What's the?
We're gonna move on, Jeff, we're gonna move on to the next one. You can talk.
Thank you very much.
Talk to them afterwards. We're gonna move on, the next thing on the agenda is the rezone for, looks like James Sally. I've had this before board, so.
Good evening, I'm James Lee, I'm the current owner of the 508 Michigan Road, Birmingham, Indiana. I've applied to the area commission, to have my residence rezoned from B3 to U1. I have two proofs of publication, Carroll County, Common newspaper, and I've certified mail to 10 recipients the notification of this hearing. And I posted a notice of request to rezone sign in front of the 508 Michigan Road, Burlington, on before August the 1st. I have the photos of that. Apparently this was zoned, business in 1970. That's all I know about it. It was zoned business in 1970. And I asked that the rezoning board, or the zoning board, rezone my residence from B3 to U1 so I can sell this property as a residence. Any questions?
No. Any questions from the board? Any public comments regarding the rezone? Okay,
Make a motion, we honor his request to rezone.
I second
Thank you for recommendation.
that. Second.
No, you have to either you're just making a recommendation to the commissioners to either
It goes to
approve.
it goes to the Burlington Council.
Oh, okay,
It's gonna go
to,
to-
right, to approve or to disapprove or with no recommendation.
Do we want to amend it to say that you would recommend we approve?
Yes.
Okay.
To the town of Burlington.
Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next rezone is the exact opposite, for Tippy's Bar out there on the river. Basically moving it from residential to business.
My name is Shirley Russell, I'm the owner of Tibby's Chickly LLC. So yeah, we're just trying to rezone, we're currently residential, I don't know how that ever happened, but, just wanna rezone the business. So that we're, zoned correctly for the county.
Yeah, it's been a business for, you guys have probably been out there several times, it's been a business for before I was born, so, not quite sure.
Yeah, we did post the sign, I sent all the certified letters and, posted the advertisement in the contract.
Any questions from the board? Any public comments regarding the rezone? Okay, we have a motion from the board to approve.
Second.
Mary Ann. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Director's report.
Real quick, for the month of July, we had a total that went out to 26. We had 22 site visits, compliance certificates issued were 11. 8 new 911 addresses assigned. We had 1 variance.
Was those 911 addresses mainly for like utilities,
No, those are for
actual residents?
for anything.
Okay.
A lot of phone companies are requiring them now, or any utility for the workers that are out there. But a lot of them that come through are for new homes, or potential new homes. So any parcel can actually be assigned a 911 address. And then temporary permits issued was 1. Lori's been busy in the office as usual, doing a great job. I will be leaving Sunday morning for Maryland. I'll try this for the 3rd time. Hopefully my kidneys don't drop between now and then. And then we're working with Cindy and Deb Lazier on, I sent you guys on that quote. That was kind of the big picture, which obviously we're not gonna do all of it this year, but with what we just had appear in front of us, the mixed use zoning that would directly deal with that, because there's a lot of small towns across the USA that are going through the same thing we are. They had plans to, businesses to be all over the place, and it just didn't happen, so, I'm working on, some stuff with Deb Lazier, so once we have some money in the budget this year to proceed with that part only, just the language of getting that in front of you guys, if you guys wish to start with that, so. Alright, we'll just keep them busy.
Was that, you're talking about doing this for White County, or 2 years ago, you're talking about saying in there they got most of their property down in the county, we used, that was talking about.
It's the mixed use. I sent you guys the one that was just done in Pendleton, that has a language of business residential. I don't know what White County's, what they adopted, but it would cover, in this instance, when a bank does their homework, it says, no, we're not gonna give you the 2.5 interest rate for a home, because it's owned business, and then what if it ever burns down, can they rebuild? Those questions are all across the state of Indiana right now for a lot of directors, so this mixed use, I sent that to Deb, and she says it's happening everywhere. So, she just did one in Pendleton. In order for us to get this started, she shot me the quote, just for that part, today, and it was right at $3,000, which is what we had appropriated for this year's budget in the zoning. So if you guys wish me to proceed with that part, I will. And then the other quote I gave, it was kind of for the whole scope thing, which obviously we're not gonna tackle the subdivision and stuff like that for the, we'll work further on that. So whatever the board chooses, she did send me the quote today.
So do we need to approve like that, using that $3,000 to get the ball rolling so that we don't have to have?
It's in our budget, so if you guys wish to vote on it, yes, I mean, it's right here, she just sent it to me before I came in, so it's basically just for that mixed use zoning stuff only, which she had broke down in her first quote, what all is included with it, so.
That would kind of help alleviate all the things we've been saying.
Absolutely, I explained everything that's happened to her, she says, oh, that's interesting, because we're dealing with a lot, all over the place with it, so. I think it would, this isn't gonna go away. It's in Camden, it's in Burlington, it's in Yeoman. The goal was to have businesses all down Main Street, that didn't happen. So, in order for people to sell their homes, I don't like seeing people get held up like this. It's a lot of hassle and it's a lot of heartache, and with this language, we could get through it with that zone. So this is the starting process, then of course it goes in front of the commissioners, so.
Okay. Do we have a motion to move forward with that?
I'll make a motion that, we have Cameron proceed with, mixed use zoning.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything else, Cameron? Moving on to Cindy.
I don't have anything else.
Cindy?
I'll be working with Deb too to make sure, figure out how we're gonna fit it into our ordinance and make it work, what there is. So, and then, I'm working on a property that Cameron said you waited on it too long. I've already sent a certified letter to the owner. It's up in the Lake region. So as soon as we get service on it, she'll have 10 days to respond. If not, I'll be filing in circuit or superior court. I don't know which one I wanna take it to yet. For violations, nuisance violations and zoning violations. Kind of the same thing, under our ordinance, it qualifies as a junkyard. So, and it's not allowed in a lake district, so. They just have refused to clean it up for quite a while. And
You
it's,
look at our public nuisance ordinance, it covers about every line.
yeah.
So, it needs cleaned up,
I mean, it violates every single one.
yes. We've been pretty patient, we worked with them the first time, and, went out of our way to make sure that we did what we could to give them time, and they cleaned it up. So we thought, actually, it just went to the back of the property, so. The neighbors have, dealt with it long enough, in my opinion, so. They drive by that every day, that's not fair to them, so.
Any other information or concerns from the board? Motion to adjourn? Those in favor?
I will be available if you guys need me while I'm in Maryland. I'll have my phone on me. If there's any questions.